It's a rainy day today, and Jim's downstairs working from home. So I decided I would talk about fantasy. What does that have to do with those things? I don't know. When it rains, I feel more in a magical kind of writing mood. I don't know. Also, Rosa just posted her 5 favorite females in fantasy video on Geek Girl Pen Pals, the collab channel I'm a part of. So I thought that's perfect. Gotta talk about fantasy. Gotta talk about women. Gotta talk about feminism. Gotta talk about it all. So we got this game called Talisman, and it's tabletop board game. I'm not super into board games, but this one looked kind of cool. But I noticed that there were only 2 female characters you could play. And of course, I had to point that out. So we were thinking, okay, well maybe the dwarf is a female because in the Tolkien world, female dwarves can have beards. And who's to say this troll isn't a woman? But still, it was extremely uneven. Why are females in fantasy not as common as males? And is that just a world thing? Is that just the whole idea of females not being the default and men being the default and women being other? So I have to mention Lord of the Rings. I have to mention that it is my favorite, but it is also not without its flaws. Its main flaw being that there are barely any women in the whole series. And I think that was the only change to the books I didn't have a problem with in the films. They extended the roles of females, although they did cut some women, but they did make Arwen's character specifically a bit bigger. In the book, she's barely mentioned and only really appears maybe once. Some things that some of the male elves did, she does instead, like saving Frodo, which I thought was really cool. Galadriel's also super awesome, and Éowyn, especially in the films, that scene when she shouts, "I am no man." I love that part. Kelsey, Queen of the Tierling. Kelsey is a young queen, and she rules, she fights, she deals with citizens and makes tough decisions and politics, and she's just great. And I think it's one of my favorite books ever, let alone favorite fantasy books ever, and I can't wait for the 3rd book. It's going to be really great. I actually reviewed the first 2 books on this channel, so check those out. Links are in the cards. Next, I got to talk about Buffy. Now, I know that not everybody agrees that Joss Whedon's particular brand of feminism is exceptional, and I'm not saying that that's not valid. I'm just saying that I think Buffy is a great female in fantasy because she not only is this awesome superhero who is the main character of her own show, but she also tears down typical stereotypes when it comes to women in TV and film, and that's the dumb blonde cheerleader type. She's blonde, she's a cheerleader, she's got that bubbly personality, but she also kicks major vampire and is great at it. And she grows and changes as a character throughout the whole series. She's not one-dimensional, and she saves the world, all while being totally awesome in her designer boots, so whatever. Witch Baby, my favorite character from the Dangerous Angel series by Francesca Leah Block. Witch Baby is grumpy and angry and loud, and she disobeys authority, and she's everything I'm not. But when I read those books in high school, I just thought she was the coolest character. Francesca Leah Block's writing and her fantasy stories and the way she sort of uses magic and beautiful poetic writing is just so great. And I don't know, it's a modern fantasy. It's very different than your typical sword and sorcery, but it is beautiful. And all of her stories are about women, and I think that that's really important, especially, finding fantasy books that are actually written by women. Note to self, put every book that Rosa listed in her video on my TBR list because she does a really good job about finding fantasy stories written by women. Good job, Rosa. Also, thanks for being my second ever Patreon. You're amazing. Last but not least, I want to talk about the Crystal Gems. Yes, the show is called Steven Universe, which is the name of a dude who is a little kid, who's a guy, but all the Crystal Gems are women. All of them. And yes, it could be argued that the Crystal Gems don't actually have a gender, but they're presented as women. They're presented as female. And I think that that's really important, that femininity and being a girl is seen as the chosen way that this particular species, this particular aliens, decide to present themselves. And I think that's awesome. There's a ton of others that I haven't mentioned that could definitely be included in my favorites list, like Sailor Moon, Lumberjanes, Hermione Granger. That's my video on my 5 of my favorite, not top 5, but 5 of my favorite females in fantasy. Gotta find more females in fantasy. Put any recommendations in the comments. I will appreciate it. You are awesome. Thank you, Rosa, for being a Patreon of mine and for making that awesome video. And thank you to everybody. Thank you for all the support. And I will see you next week here on Magic Cat Jenny. Meow.